Imagine a mansion that stood like a fortress on the edge of the city, tall glass windows catching the morning light, and marble floors echoing with silence. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also cold. Cold in a way that money could never warm. Inside lived a man named Alexander Cole, a billionaire whose empire stretched across continents. To the world, he was untouchable. To his employees, he was a legend. But within his own home, he was just a father, an uncertain, weary father of a boy who hadn't spoken a single word in 7 years. His son, Ethan, was small for his age, with dark, intelligent eyes that said more than his lips ever could. Silence was his companion. He never answered questions, never played with other children, never laughed when cartoons flickered on the enormous plasma screen in the living room. Instead, he wandered the halls like a shadow, clutching a worn-out stuffed bear, sometimes humming a tune that no one could ever place. Alexander loved his boy more than life itself, but he didn't know how to reach him. He had tried everything: therapists, specialists, experimental programs in Switzerland. They had promised breakthroughs, miracles even, but Ethan remained silent. Each failure carved another hollow in Alexander's chest. And so he buried himself in work, convincing himself that building empires was easier than building a bond. That was until the day she arrived. Her name was Clara. She wasn't what Alexander had expected when the agency sent her. He'd asked for a caretaker, someone professional, with degrees and polished manners. But Clara walked into the mansion with second-hand shoes, a plain dress that had seen better days, and eyes that spoke of struggle. She had been hired out of desperation. No one else had lasted more than a month with Ethan. Clara had no glowing resume, just an honest smile and a promise. "I'll do my best." At first, Alexander doubted her. How could this woman succeed where experts had failed? She was quiet, almost too quiet, and she didn't try to force Ethan into conversation. Instead, she followed him, soft steps echoing after his small ones, patient and steady. She seemed to notice things Alexander never had. When Ethan rubbed the worn bear's ear, she hummed with him. When he lined up his toy cars, she crouched beside him and lined them up too. She didn't demand his world, she entered it. One rainy afternoon, Alexander returned home earlier than usual. His shoes clicked across the marble, briefcase in hand, mind still tangled in boardroom battles. But as he turned the corner near the staircase, he froze. There, in the quiet glow of the drawing room, Clara sat on the carpet with Ethan curled against her. The boy's head rested on her shoulder, his small hands tangled in the fabric of her dress. And Clara was holding him as if he were the most fragile treasure in the world. She rocked gently, humming a lullaby, so soft it felt like the rain itself had hushed to listen. Alexander's breath caught in his throat. He had never seen his son allow anyone near him like that, not even himself. For years, Ethan had resisted touch, pulling away from even the smallest gestures. But now in the arms of this caretaker, he looked safe, content, almost as if the silence wasn't heavy anymore, but peaceful. Something inside Alexander shifted, something he hadn't felt in years. A warmth that wasn't pride, wasn't duty, wasn't even relief. It was something deeper, something terrifying. His heart stirred in ways he thought it had forgotten. He stepped closer, his voice unsteady. "Ethan." The boy didn't move, didn't startle, didn't retreat. Clara looked up instead, her eyes meeting Alexander's. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, and in that silence, Alexander saw it, the understanding, the gentleness, the strength in her gaze. She wasn't afraid of his wealth or his reputation. She wasn't impressed by the marble halls or the expensive suits. She cared only for the boy in her arms. And for Alexander, that was the moment everything changed. He watched them from the doorway, torn between awe and an ache he couldn't name. All the board meetings, all the skyscrapers, all the contracts signed with trembling hands, they felt meaningless compared to this single moment of human connection, a moment that he had been too busy, too guarded, too blind to create himself. Days turned into weeks, and Clara's presence became more than just routine. She became the heartbeat of the house. Ethan began to hum more often, his steps lighter, his silence less lonely. Alexander found himself watching them from a distance, his walls crumbling piece by piece. The mansion no longer felt so cold. One evening, as twilight painted the sky, Alexander stood at the edge of the garden. He saw Ethan sitting beside Clara on the swing, his small hand clutching hers. The boy still didn't speak, but he smiled, a faint, hesitant smile, and Alexander's chest tightened. It was then he realized this wasn't about caretakers or wealth or expectations. This was about love, raw, patient, healing love. The kind of love that Clara had given freely. The kind of love Alexander now longed to give, both to his son and, though he barely admitted it to himself, to her. The billionaire, who once believed he could buy answers, now stood powerless in the face of something he couldn't purchase. His heart knew no escape, and for the first time, he was grateful. Because sometimes, salvation doesn't arrive in miracles or money. Sometimes, it arrives in a quiet woman with worn shoes holding a silent boy, teaching a broken man how to feel again. And that night, as Alexander watched them under the fading light, he whispered a vow only the stars could hear, that he would never let this warmth slip away again.